So once again, Battlefront Miniatures has given us their pre-Christmas preview of what's going to go on for 2023. It looks like it's going to be a bit of a light year, but it's also going to be a very important one as it shows the very end of the late war period for Flames of War and a few things that are pertinent to my interests. First of all, we're getting a new starter set for the Eastern Front in the spirit of Hit the Beach, Clash of Steel. It's probably going to be about $65 or so. It's going to be good, but looking at this one, I am thinking this is the kind of thing you want to buy the starter set, and then you buy additional boxes that expand upon what you want to actually use in the starter set. For example, I'm looking at this, and the single Jagdtiger, I mean, that's nice enough. Having two of them is about as where I'd put it for support units, but I would never flood the field with Jagdtigers. Then double up your other options, see where you're at. 6 Panthers, 4 Panzer L70s, 8 T-34s. There are better ways to double up your money as far as this is concerned. Buying 2 of the box sets would be a nice idea, but it wouldn't be great. Also, there's these things. The Russian Scout vehicles, really 3 of them is all you need. Any more is just a waste. If I were to design this box set, I would probably either pick the IS-2 tanks or the assault guns and switch them out for just 3 more T-34s. After all, they're T-34s. You might as well bring lots of them. The coming starter sets they have for these specific nations are actually pretty good. The Soviets are getting their import M4 Shermans. If you ask me, that is not a box set you'll buy 2 of. Buy one of that box set and buy like 3 or 4 boxes of the Soviet-style M4 Shermans. That'll do just fine. As far as the German one, that looks fine either way. Buying 2 of the German starter force that comes with the King Tigers, comes with the Panzer IIs, comes with the Wesps, comes with the Hetzers, comes with Panthers, is a pretty good all-rounder as far as, variety of tanks you get. And doubling up on that just means you have a nice fat collection. Though honestly, if I were me, looking at that, I'd either pick the Hetzer, the Panzer IV, or the Panther, and then I would buy an additional box or 2 of those and play them like that. It's probably just a good idea. We have some information about the Panzer II kit. The Panzer II kit is coming out as a triple kit. You can build Panzer IIs, or you can build Martyrs, or you can build Vesps. You have the option to do all 3 in one. I like that quite a bit. We've been shown the sprue, so there's a single sprue that goes for just the Panzer II. But I'm assuming there's a different sprue that has the big guns and the different tops for the other classes of Panzer II chassis vehicles. For the Team Yankee / World War III, we got one of the best surprises I could have received. We were receiving Nordic forces. I mean, they didn't have much a chance to fight in a potential World War III situation, but we're getting Viggens. The nations involved are the Swedish, the Norwegian, the Danish, and the Finnish. Most of those are going to have stuff that we have seen before, especially the Finnish. Their infantry will be new, but they'll probably be using Soviet and NATO tanks. Yes. I'm also not certain how they're going to play like a neutral faction because the Finnish may have been pressured by the Warsaw Pact to join them. Not officially, but just as like a bulwark state. The Swedish get great options. We have the Viggens, which are in my top 5 for favorite fighter jets of all time. We get specialized infantry. We get the band cannon. The band cannon is new to me. I am not a student of artillery, though, so that's completely my fault. The S-tanks look good, and they're a plastic kit. The Viggens are most likely resin and metal. The Centurion kit that's coming out will have a use in this book. That bottom row shows the Centurion in Swedish use. As far as the top, I would think that would be British use given the pattern of camouflage, but looking at the gun on top, that thing's packing a German machine gun. So I don't know who is using that Centurion. It'd be cool, though, if the British were capable of using the Centurion. The Centurion would work in Team Yankee kind of the same way the Patton tank does. It's a cheap all-rounder tank, though, to be fair, I don't think the Centurion's as fast as the Patton tank. So it's going to have problems, and it might be a bit cheaper. Who knows? Definitely not the idea of a frontline tank. One thing I will comment about the Swedish infantry is the Swedish infantry does have a plethora of anti-tank options. It looks like 3 out of their 6 standard infantry bases are dedicated to anti-tank. Nice. I can go with that. They, of course, have 3 different types of miniatures for the type. You'll be using all of the GRGs, but the Peascott styles, you'll be picking, do you want the light version or do you want the heavy version, and then going with that. Of course, the Finnish are getting new infantry. The Finnish are also getting something else. In a recent video that they had with a partner, Battlefront said, yeah, we're going to be doing gun teams for the airborne because they made sense, but we're not going to go much further than that. We turn around, and what's the first thing that happens? The Finns. The rule-breaking Finns in all their glory get gun teams too. Mortars, just like the Soviets did. I'm willing to bet they're the same models too. Oh well, we'll see how this turns around. I kind of like it. I think it's kind of fun. We are then getting the NATO forces later. I think it's September, they said. Now, one thing I don't know about the NATO forces, they're going to add to the forces we already have. They're going to include more plastics, and we're going to be getting a new nation. I've been thinking about that new nation. There's a few that are possible. One makes sense to me. Two are plausible. They could do Belgium or Turkey. Turkey is capable of switching back and forth between the Middle Eastern front and the European front because of its location. But Turkey's kind of they'd make new infantry, but they kind of have the same tanks everybody else already has. So they'd be easy to just kind of slop them in there. What would be interesting to add as far as new forces would be the forces of Italy. I know that Italy actually had a pretty good paratrooper force that was active during the early 80s, if I remember correctly. And we had a bunch of new vehicles. They have the Ariete tank. They have the Centauro armored car. They do have, even though it's not mentioned on Wikipedia, because Wikipedia is not known for its accuracy, they have the Palomiria. The Palomiria artillery piece is like a bigger, chunkier version of the Panzerhaubitze 2000 that they bought later from the Germans. It got sold to Libya and Middle Eastern forces later, so if they make a Palmyra for the Italians, when they make the Middle Eastern force, they can pass those out to new Middle Eastern forces and to existing Middle Eastern forces that use the Palomiria. They did describe how World of Tanks is going to be doing new platoon packs where you can buy 3 tanks in a pack. That's nice and all, but really the reason anybody buys World of Tanks, from what I know, is the same reason people bought the Tanks game back when it was called Tanks. We want our single miniatures for Flames of War in case you want single miniatures. Yes, they're pre-assembled and pre-primed now, but that hasn't stopped anybody recently. What gets me is they said that we're going to be including new tanks that will be what you don't expect us to throw in the game. In case anybody hasn't been watching, earlier, Battlefront did include the Challenger tank in World of Tanks before they were ever released for the World War II British. That could be what they're meaning. The plastic may not have shown up first in Flames of War, but it's going to show up in Flames of War, but it'll just happen to show up first for World of Tanks. It's also plausible that they'll be including more modern tanks. They are including the T-54. This means they can include some other stuff that's to the par of the course, like the Leopard 1, or, other softer, gentler modern tanks that tend to get trashed around in the modern setting, but if they're in World of Tanks, they'll kind of be par to a lot of World War II vehicles. One thing they could do, which I haven't brought up and no one's thought about, but it's plausible they may be releasing some first-run plastics for World of Tanks. And then later we'll get to see them show up for other different games. They did say they were going to be throwing a NAM month. I'm okay with that. I think it's all cool. I have the older NAM stuff that went to 1975, the actual end of the Vietnam War. This one says 1972. I haven't followed V4 version of NAM. If that version only covers till 1972, please tell me. I'd like to know. The other thing they're going to be doing, they're going to finally go and appease the tournament crowd, and for their mid-war, they're going to be using dynamic points where you can log into a specific site and you can build your forces using up-to-date online points that have been updated due to feedback and other material. They can actually do that. Showing you here that you have a bunch of dropped points and an increase in points for recon, though some things like infantry, the point value stay the same. So that's what we have for the new 2023 from Battlefront. I think it's going to be a cool year. They did mention they'll be making the plastic mouse sometime around Christmas time. If you have mouse holes in your stocking, so to speak, yeah. And then they have a few other things they've said about Checkpoint Charlie. They did not give a date for Checkpoint Charlie, but they said they're working on it. It could be reserved for a future year, just like they said about Early War, or it could be released at Christmas time as a special treat. Who knows? Maybe the plastic patent tank is coming along quickly. And if it is, I hope they can make it so you can make the M46, 47, or 48 version all in one blister. That would be great. So that's what we've heard from Battlefront for 2023. Hopefully, this is just my deeper explanation is what they had in the short video they kicked out. Hopefully, have a great rest of your holiday season, and have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.